So let's talk to our political panel about this. Live from Washington, Shira Tuplitz, political reporter for The Roll Call. Democratic strategist Penny Lee joining us, and Jonathan Collegio, former press secretary for the National Republican Congressional Committee. Thank you for joining us this morning. All right, Shira, I'm going to start with you. Apparently, Romney has a history of making these unfortunate comments, is what I'm going to call them. Let's listen to some of them, and then we'll talk about it.
I like being able to fire people who provide services to me.
I'll tell you what. $10,000 bucks? $10,000 bet?
I know what it's like to worry whether you're going to get fired. There were a couple of times I wondered whether I was going to get a pink slip.
Well, I should also tell my story. I'm also unemployed.
All right, so we know a lot of these comments are taken out of context, but unfortunately, especially in some of these, there's always an economic undertone to them, which could be a big problem for him. He's now headed to Nevada, where there's a 12.6 unemployment rate. It's one of the highest in the nation. And, you know, these are gaps that he can't afford to have. The economy is the #1 issue, and 56% of Americans say that Romney is out of touch. The Tea Party, the conservative Tea Party, is now in play in Nevada. It wasn't the last time he was there. How does he recover from all of this as he's headed into the Nevada caucuses?
Well, he can do it two ways. He can sort of flood the zone, and he can go out and give as many interviews as possible, or he can start shying away from interviews with the news media to avoid these kinds of gaffes. The bad news for Mitt Romney is he's made a habit of this, as you've just shown. I mean, that reel of tape is basically an attack ad for Democrats, and that they can run over and over again this fall if he's the nominee. So Mitt Romney has two ways of dealing with this, but I do think that in the end his advisors or the people around him need to talk to him about this, because this is a problem with his candidacy, and a long-standing one. You know, he's not the most articulate candidate we've seen on the campaign trail, and especially next to Barack Obama, who, no matter what you think of his politics, he's a very eloquent man. That's going to be a big difference this fall if he doesn't work out the kinks in his personality as a political candidate.
So, Jonathan, speaking of attack ads, part of the reason that Romney is viewed as so out of touch is because of the super PAC ads about Bain Capital. Those are super effective. You're communications director for one of the most influential ones. It's American Crossroads. It's advised by Karl Rove. And some are saying that the super PACs are contributing to the most negative campaign ever. The exit polls in Florida actually show that 71% of voters said that the ads were indeed a factor in their vote. Are super PACs contributing to shaping all of these negative messages that we are constantly seeing?
One of the interesting things about super PACs is that they are really part and parcel of the campaign finance reform efforts of 10 years ago. If you remember back in 2002 when Congress passed that McCain-Feingold legislation that was supposed to really limit the influence of political parties, much of that money went to outside organizations on the left and the right. Remember that the left really was the icebreaker and the spearhead of outside groups in 2004 with MoveOn.org and Americans Coming Together and all of those groups that tried to defeat George W. Bush in 2004. The other thing that the campaign laws do is that because outside groups cannot coordinate with candidates, it makes it very, very difficult for outside groups to run positive ads because we can't coordinate to get footage of a candidate to put into an ad in a positive way. What instead ends up being the result. No, what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, you end up with a situation where it's much easier to get the negative footage, like you just showed on the earlier segment, and to turn that into an ad, because then there's undoubtedly no coordination with whoever you're hitting. So in a weird way, it's the result of the campaign finance reformers that we have all of these outside groups operating today.
All right, Penny, let's stay on the super PACs. 6 Democratic super PACs reported fundraising of just over $19 million. It's significantly less than Jonathan's super PAC haul, which was $51 million. And maybe not as concerning for President Obama, who ended the year with $81.8 million in the bank. But the House races are in contention as well. The Tea Party, as well as Jonathan's super PAC, have a lot of Democrats in their side. If we're talking about super PAC shaking, are you concerned that the Democrats aren't able to get as much money or the same amount of money as the Republicans?
There's always concern. I mean, when you have someone like Mitt Romney going out there in a state like Florida, you know, carpet bombing a candidate for him to be able to win, that's what he did to Newt Gingrich. I mean, we're all concerned that we're going to have that same effect on House races, on Senate races. But I got to tell you, a lot of it also backfires. I mean, you saw Mitt Romney, even though it was a highly negative ad, his own negatives went up. Now he has independents. 50% of independents now question whether or not they like him. And you also have 3 to 5 Republicans now that are saying, wait a second, I don't think we want who we have right now for our nominees. So these ads are effective. We are concerned about them, but also know that they also have a double-edged sword to them. So, we will run a positive campaign. We will have the necessary money to be competitive. How it all shapes up will be very interesting.
All right, Shira, Jonathan, and Penny, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
And